On this week's episode of Capital City Sports, the Gamecock football team takes on the Tennessee Volunteers. Equestrian takes on A&M. Women's basketball is back in action as they take on Coker. And the Garnet and Black World Series is at Carolina Stadium. This is Capital City Sports. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Capital City Sports. I'm your host, Nick Jones. The Gamecock football team took on the Tennessee Volunteers this past Saturday and they look to move to 5-4 for the season. Let's check out the highlight.
Temperatures in the 50s and a black on the field set the stage for tonight's matchup against the Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee's coming into this match
3-5,
0-4 in conference play, and the Gamecocks are looking to exact revenge on last year's loss in Knoxville.
In the 33rd meeting between these two teams, the Gamecocks will be looking to pick up only their 8th win over the Volunteers. And Dylan Thompson would look to do just that, dumping the ball off to Mike Davis to the left side, picks up 34 yards down the sideline. A few plays later, it's Pharaoh Cooper in the Wildcat set. He keeps it for himself, finds a hole in the Tennessee defense, and puts South Carolina up 7-0 early in the first quarter. USC's defense would have a huge goal line stand, but it is wasted by Dylan Thompson's lone interception of the game. And that would result in this fancy reverse play to Pig Howard, who gets around the corner and in for the score, tying the game. Sophomore quarterback Josh Dobbs showed his mobility in the second quarter, taking a design run 7 yards to the house, putting Tennessee up 14-7. But on South Carolina's next possession, it's Cooper again in the Wildcat, this time floating one to Brandon Wilds, who goes 30 yards to the house, and it's tied at 14. Just before halftime, it's Dobbs again running 36 yards, around tackles, through tackles, to put the Volunteers up 21-14 just before halftime. After a 5-yard touchdown run from Brandon Wilds, it's Thompson again optioning the ball out to Wilds, who goes 32 yards down the sidelines to put the Gamecocks well within the red zone. And on the very next play, it's Thompson rolling out of the pocket. He finds Pharaoh Cooper in the back corner of the end zone to make it 28-21 South Carolina. And just for good measure, why not another one? This time, Thompson to Cooper goes 85 yards to the house. This is the second time this calendar year a Gamecock has thrown, run for, and caught a touchdown pass. The other time, Connor Shaw in the Capital One Bowl on New Year's Day. Josh Dobbs then proved why he is a dual-threat quarterback, dumping the ball to Jalen Hurd, who breaks multiple tackles on his way for a 21-yard score. And after a 70-yard touchdown run from Brandon Wilds, Dobbs would call his own number again and go untouched into the end zone to put Tennessee down by only one score. Some craftiness would ensue from Tennessee as they attempted an onside kick, but guess who? Pharaoh Cooper comes up with the ball. However, South Carolina would not move the ball on that possession and would be forced to punt, and the defense would allow Tennessee to go down the field and score the game-tying touchdown with this pass from Dobbs to Jason Kroom. Freshman kicker Aaron Medley had missed 2 field goal attempts previously in the contest, but this one from 32 yards out would be true, putting Tennessee up 45-42 in overtime. And a last-ditch 57-yard attempt from Elliott Fry would fall well short, and Tennessee shocks South Carolina at home 45-42. Here's the head ball coach after the game.
A lot of guys really had sensational games, Pharaoh Cooper, Brandon Wilds, and so forth. 1 or 2 calls I wish I could have done over, but we couldn't hold the lead, as we all saw. Just not good enough. Not good enough to hold the lead. Yes, this is a tough one. It'll take a while to get this one out of your system, but we've had about 3 or 4 like this year, so I guess I should be getting used to it by now. But I have a tough time getting used to these kind of things. A lot of guys played well, but we couldn't hold the lead there. So. I don't need to take any questions. You guys watched it, and I need to just get out of here, I think.
South Carolina appeared to have the game in the bag, but the Volunteers had other ideas, and in the first ever overtime at Williams-Brice Stadium, they beat the Gamecocks, dropping them to
2-5
in SEC play. The guys have an off week before they head to the Swamp to take on the Florida Gators. From Williams-Brice Stadium, I'm John Dowdy, Capital City Sports.
The women's basketball team has been picked to win the SEC this year, and they take on Coker College for an exhibition matchup. Let's send it to Stan Smith for the highlight.
The 2014-2015 Lady Gamecocks basketball team has high expectations heading into the season, led by head coach Dawn Staley and their preseason number 2 ranking. But before they can prove their number 2 ranking, they must take on the Coker Cobras in an exhibition game here at Colonial Life Arena. Let's take it to the highlight.
Alicia Welch, as well as the rest of her teammates, are pumped to start the season, and she gets the first basket of the game working the low post. Moments later, the Lady Gamecocks show their speed and athleticism as Khadijah Sessions scores on the fast break. Elena Coates uses her height to her advantage on the Coker defender, and she goes hard in the paint for the deuce. Freshman phenom Aja Wilson makes her presence felt as she blocks a shot that would lead to a score on the other end by Asia Dozier. South Carolina passed around the rock unselfishly, and that would lead to a corner pocket 3 by Tiffany Davis. Once again, Davis would come through as she hits the free throw that would give the Lady Gamecocks the big 100 for the game, and South Carolina simply dominated the Coker Cobras 100-25.
The Lady Gamecocks scored 66 of their 100 points in the paint today, which is something that they want to make a strength of their team heading into the season. Their first game, they will take on the Southern California Trojans here at Colonial Life Arena on November the 15th. For Capital City Sports, I'm Stan Smith.
The Equestrian team takes on Texas A&M for their last home match of the semester. Let's send it to Brett Williams.
Halloween night fell quickly on Blythewood, which is why I'm here on the Horseshoe, a fitting place to discuss Friday's South Carolina Equestrian match against Texas A&M. The number 3 Gamecocks entered the match 1-2 on the season, coming off their first victory at Auburn, and they wanted to pull off a conference win in their final home meet before the midseason break. Meanwhile, 9th-ranked Texas A&M came in at 2-1, those 2 wins matching their win total from all of last season. And the Aggies were certainly hoping to pull off another athletic upset here in South Carolina. Would they get it? Let's take it to the highlight. A mild and beautiful day at One Wood Farm. Fall colors in the trees, and the Gamecocks, Aggies, and their horses ready to roll. Aggie Junior Hannah Jeho was an early rider, and her 71-point showing on Skeeto won her MVP honors for the reining event. Meanwhile, Gamecock freshman Bailey Walters picked up her first career point. This signature reining move definitely helped. But the event would belong to Texas A&M and their spirited team, cheering for the victorious Laura Sumrall here. The Aggies led it 3-2 as we headed to the lower arena for equitation over fences. Junior Samantha Kraus put on one of the best performances for the Gamecocks, gracefully guiding Tucker over the fences. And senior Catherine Schmidt improved to 4-0 in fences this season, earning her 21st career MVP and leading South Carolina to a 4-1 event win. With South Carolina leading 6-4, the competition moved back uphill for horsemanship, with A&M's Rachel Liss riding Patty. But her 71.5-point ride wasn't enough to top Sam Shido's 72.5. The Gamecocks got the point there, but the Aggies took the event, cutting the Gamecocks' lead to 1 with only equitation on the flat to go. Hannah Williams tried to help the Aggies finish the comeback, but South Carolina dominated the flat. Senior Adele Norton earned her first career MVP with an 88-point run, and Samantha Kraus picked up the final point of the day before walking off victorious. The final score from Blythewood, Gamecocks 12, Aggies 8. Unofficial 73.5. South Carolina continues to play in close matches, this 4-point victory their largest of the season. But they'll take it, and that makes 2 in a row for the Gamecocks, who will look to continue that momentum next week in California, taking on Fresno State. They won't return to One Wood Farm until January 31st, and let's hope the recent Columbia cold snap isn't indicative of how the riding conditions will be for that one. Reporting from the Horseshoe, I'm Brett Williams, Capital City Sports.
This past weekend, the baseball team had their Garnet and Black World Series. Let's head over to Carolina Stadium to take a look at the scrimmages.
This year's Garnet Black World Series kicked off on Friday at Carolina Stadium, and senior Patrick Harrington started off the scoring for the black team with this 2-run single in the bottom of the first. Later on, the returning senior Kyle Martin in the cleanup spot hits a sacrifice fly to deep left center for the Garnet to tie the game at 2 as Everett Ainen comes across home. In the 7th, Marcus Mooney pops out to DC Arendis at second base. He was one of the 6 consecutive batters Matthew Vogel struck out after being brought on in the 6th. In the bottom of the same inning, the black team trying to put up a lead as Arendis hits a 1-out single that sends Scolamiero to third, but no runs there. The score would stay tied until the 9th inning as the black took down the Garnet 5-3. For Capital City Sports, I'm John Wagner.
Well, that's going to be it for this week's episode of Capital City Sports. If you want to get any more coverage, follow us at CCS on SGTV or head over to sgtv.sc.edu. For all of us at Capital City Sports, I'm Nick Jones. Have a great weekend.